The research question to this study is as follows: how do teaching strategies affect student engagement? The purpose of this research study is an active step in addressing a process of understanding diverse teaching strategies, their application and influence on student engagement in the secondary classroom. Student engagement in the classroom is a significant aspect of education that holds the potential to create meaningful learning and teaching experiences. As part of this study, the 5 researchers decided on a teaching strategy each that could be investigated and linked to student engagement. The 5 strategies include inquiry-based learning, student-centered learning, technology-centered learning, differentiation, and collaborative learning. Based on all literature reviews and data collection methods, there were 2 common themes that emerged individually and combined. The first theme, role of the teacher, entailing a teacher's knowledge, experience, implementation, and content to learning. And the second theme, student autonomy, specifying students taking ownership and being responsible for their learning, as well as implementing their own learning style to fully equip to new and existing teaching strategies.
The literature reviews across different types of teaching strategies presented a number of connections. We consistently found that the use of ICT in teaching, learning, assessment and feedback can be beneficial for student learning and engagement. This also enhances another area that was addressed numerous times over the literature reviews, which is the importance of communication with students. We can categorize the themes and the similarities into 2 main factors, and that's the teachers and the students, to see the role that each of these parties play. In regard to the students, we found that the variation of student ability has a large impact upon the effectiveness of the different types of approaches. IBL and differentiation both depend to some extent on giving students autonomy during learning to attain engagement, as well as students being responsible for their own learning. With regard to teachers, the most consistent themes we discovered across the literature reviews is that the effectiveness of the approaches largely depends on the role of the teacher and their ability and confidence to implement a given strategy. This highlights the importance of professional learning and development, which is another important factor that was presented, especially where IBL and the use of technology is involved. One of the problems discovered in the literature reviews is that pre-service teachers are generally not well equipped or trained in effective strategies to improve student engagement, especially in IBL and the use of technology. Our data collection methods were designed to test the validity of what was found in the literature reviews. We conducted observations, a survey, and an interview. One observation was structured with explicit criteria based on the elements of IBL. The observation was on one teacher with 3 different classes. The observer focused on the practice of the teacher, with a specific focus on the teaching and learning activities, interaction with students, and also the teacher's preparation. The other observer looked at one class in 2 different subjects and focused on how student learning and engagement was impacted by the use of scaffolds and worksheets, individual readiness, and teacher assistance. The survey consists of a range of Likert scale, multiple choice, and short answer questions for teachers to answer in regard to how technology impacts student engagement, as it is the teachers who are able to observe daily and report on how technology enhances student learning and engagement in their classroom. One of the interviews was based around student-centered learning and teacher-centered learning, asking the teacher what they believe the advantages and the disadvantages are of the 2 different approaches, and what difference they make for the role of the teacher, how they can help students towards academic success, and how they measure or assess student learning and engagement.
Observations of differentiation and inquiry-based learning both focus on the teacher's preparation of assigned work and how they approach their teaching strategy in the classroom. The observations conveyed that teacher preparedness was essential in engaging students. The students' positive response towards the class activities informed the observers that the teacher's teaching strategies were effective in engaging students. However, student-centered learning was limited in the results of the observations, as both researchers discussed that this was due to the low ability of the classes. To some extent, Teachers would allow for student-centered learning depending on the student's ability. Teacher focus was directed towards the misbehaving students in the low ability classes that was observed.
It is evident through the data collection that observation example A was significantly focused on disruptive behaviours coming from students during independent work time. As for example B, the activity involved the class working together. As for the teacher's behaviour, there was consistent disinterest in the lesson and her approach was rushed, not allowing students to engage wholly into the learning activity. From these two examples, it takes us back to teacher preparation and approach varying depending on the pedagogical approach taken. This further links to a lack of understanding and training on how to manage a lower ability class.
Similarly, the interviews regarding student-centered learning conveyed that teachers perceived that student-centered learning is applicable for students with high academic ability, improving their engagement in class activities. Students would be more engaged in the task where there is limited assistance from the teacher. The teacher would interact with students, guiding them to explore learning goals rather than helping students to solve problems. This was evident when the teacher applied differentiation during the observations, challenging high ability students to develop their math skills by exploring extension tasks by themselves. Furthermore, the interview results suggest collaborative learning such as interactive group tasks to engage students in constructing their own learning skills. Teachers from the interviews and surveys perceive that ICT is a useful teaching tool to increase student engagement. However, results convey that teachers would like sufficient ICT resources when planning for lessons.
The results from the survey show that 50% of teachers always had access to technology when planning for lessons, and the other half occasionally had access. With the use of technology growing in schools nationwide and being utilised during learning activities, the data shows that there is an increase in confidence on using technology in the classroom. However, this confidence comes with a consistent update and training in new technologies that will assist in engaging students in an effective way.
While comparison of most results from the data collection show that student-centered learning is perceived to improve student engagement, observations of students suggest that there was boredom and hesitation to participate in collaborative tasks. Similarly, the surveys convey multiple reasons for student disengagement while utilizing ICT resources. Examples of technology misuse include students using social media, troubleshooting with Wi-Fi networks and account logins, and accessing online games.
One limitation of the observations is limited sample of the participants. The person who's doing observation is only received 9 out of 16 students' consent form to conduct his research, and only 2 out of 2 from the teachers. Participants from the observations are aware to observing the classroom, hence the change of the nature behaviors may occur from the teachers or students. Additionally, the focus of the observation is solely focused on the pre-structured criteria of the photo notes template. This causes the observers to focus on one aspect of the lesson. Their individual subtopics, such as differentiation, inquiry-based learning, and collaborative learning. So the evidence was not strong enough to prove the argument. There are 2 people in our group connect data through the interviews, but they only interviewed the teachers and not the students. There are not demographics related questions on the survey, so this does not allow us to make compares or identify any difference across items, such as testing for statistical significance. This moves potentially important data from the research as the perspective of the students is removed. With ethical consideration in place, when approaching the data collection method, the students must be removed altogether from the research if consent have not been given. This becomes difficult, especially for observations. And the numbers of respondents are also represent a limitation, as just 8 teachers responded to the survey. If there have more respondents from the range of the school and demographic, would give us a clear picture on the research questions. And then in the next part, our group members Samantha are going to talk about the future research.
For our future research, we have came up with 6 main ideas. Firstly, one-on-one interviews with pre-service teachers into the research to support the literature. Also, it can be beneficial to ask for suggestions and their ideas for new teaching strategies. On number 2, we have professional learning opportunity once a week for all the teachers and staff members. For example, introducing teachers and staff members with the new apps. On number 3, we have meeting with the IT department to block adult games and certain websites on the internet, which is not appropriate for the age of the students. Number 4 is all the teachers, principal and other staff members of the school needs to follow the same rules for phone management. For example, phones will be collected by the teacher at the start of the class and will be handed over to the students at the end of the class. On number 5, we have importance of teacher's aid for students with low ability and anxiety and also with other mental health issues. Number 6, the last one we have is maintaining confidentiality of the sensitive information given by the students to the teacher. If privacy is maintained properly, students will get more close with their teachers and will tend to listen to teachers more.